What is up, everybody? Thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Anti-Gravity Group podcast. My name is Braden Carlson.
My name is Taylor.
My name is Shane, or as you might know me, Postart.
My name is Matthew, or you might know me as Macho Matt.
And my name is Adam Knippa.
I was curious if your name is pronounced like that, because it's like the tools, Knippix. I had to ask about that at SEMO once. But please, everybody, welcome Adam to the show. We have another guest.
Welcome to the show, Adam.
Thank you.
That would have been a great time to use the clapping soundbite, but I feel like I missed the opportunity. So
Here, I'll give you one.
You blew it.
Thanks, Matt. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so I've laid off the soundboard, and because I came to the realization that I have like a volume slider, and all it changes is what we hear. But like when we play it live, it's full volume. It just completely blows people's eardrums apart. So, and then if I use it, I have to edit them all to be quieter because it mixes it to the same level as the vocal stuff. It's a mess. So, unfortunately, the soundboard is a little bit of a pain. But that's not what we're here to discuss. Today, we are discussing Adam, who he works for Estes. So, we put out the call for people to ask questions for an Estes employee. But before we get to that portion, we just wanted to get a little background on you, Adam. So if you could tell us how you got started in rocketry and how you wound up where you are. And once we get through all that, tell us exactly what you do for Estes.
Okay, yeah, cool. Well, yeah, my name's Adam. I'm a design engineer for Estes, and I got started in rocketry whenever I was in middle school. And I actually started out building Estes kits. My first kit was a Estes Mini Honest John. So that was very nostalgic to see that we still sell it today. And from there, I started diving into building scratch-built kits of my own, like in middle school, learning how to use Open Rocket. Kind of took a little bit of a hiatus in high school, but got back in it whenever I got into college, participating in NASA Student Launch and Spaceport America Cup. That's whenever I really got into doing like the larger stuff, as you can see here behind me. And it's like just as of late here, moving to Colorado, that's whenever I started diving into getting my level 3 high power certification. And now I'm more so diving into trying to work on getting better at two-stage electronics. So got some work under my belt there. And what exactly I do at Estes, I am a design engineer, and I do everything from kit design to engine design, and pretty much like any little bit of engineering that they might need there at Estes. So it's a fun, lively workplace. There's a lot going on every day. Keeps me busy, so I'm excited about it.
That's pretty great. Taylor just bought a Mini Honest John. Isn't it the mini one?
No, I had one for like 10 years.
Oh, I thought you meant
but it is sick.
You did just impulse buy it. I thought that was just recent.
No.
That was way more fun for me. You're like, yeah, I'm prepping those giant rockets for Airfest, but I'm going to also build this tiny Honest John.
No, that was an impulse buy when I was a senior in high school in 2012, which I at that point hadn't built an Estes kit for like 10 years. So it was pretty exciting.
Taylor,
Solid
did you
kit.
also feel really old when he said he learned to use Open Rocket in middle school?
Yes.
Because in my head, Open Rocket still came out like last year.
I'm like, oh, the new program? Whoa. I was like doing the math in my head.
Yeah, that is displeasant. But so that's cool. It sounds like you're sort of an all-around, well, I guess you said it best, little bit of everything that requires design or engineering. So before we start diving into questions and everything, I was curious about the gambit of Anti-Gravity Group hosts. If people had any questions for you. So we could definitely sit here and be like, hey, can you tell somebody that we want this kit back the whole time? But we're going to try to avoid that.
I've got some questions.
Fire them away.
So I guess more so what I guess day to day at Estes, what do you do? You said you do a mixture of engineering. Like, are there like design changes that you have to make to the kits, or are there like, things that you need to do to make them more reliable or anything, or what is it that maybe you do day to day?
Yeah, so like on the day to day, like we in the full production process, like we work on making our initial designs utilizing OpenRocket or RockSim, and we make test models and we go fly them. So we have to fly rockets a lot. So that's not an uncommon thing that I have to go do on the day to day. And then like once we have tested the rockets, that's where the me and the other designer, John Boren, we actually go and we have to actually make all the images that you see in the instructions. Those are all generated in SolidWorks, or in John's case, Autodesk. And, we kind of lay all that out for our art team to actually like put it into the finished product. So that's like tedious, but also fun, because it's like, that you're making the user experience better by making nice, detailed instructions. And whenever we get our samples and stuff, we have to then build those kits and then go and fly them and, make sure everything's still functioning as expected. So that's just like the snippet of like what I do on the day to day from a like kit manufacturing type of side.
Sweet. That's awesome.
It sounds grueling. You go fly rockets a bunch for work.
Do you ever have to
tough.
tweak?
I'm sorry to hear that.
Or like, have you had a situation, like how often do you like when you go test fly a rocket or whatever, is you have to notice there's something that needs to be changed, with, like how it flies or something?
Yeah. So like, I'd say we've run into that most whenever we're designing kits that like, maybe you can't quite simulate them, where it's hard to get an accurate simulation. So a really good example of that is the kit that's right here behind me, which is the Orion 3D print bundle. We're actually just going to be releasing that here on this Friday, which is, I don't know what date that is, but I know that's after the podcast 18th? The 18th. So
there you go. Yeah.
In designing that, there was a lot of trial and error, because the design was such that I couldn't quite simulate it super easily. So it was more so hey, let's just experiment and see what we can make happen and get it to a point where it's really reliable. And that was a fun experience.
That's cool.
Yeah, it is super cool.
Do you feel like, do you a lot of times do you do a lot of things for newer kits, or are there a lot of like revisions that you have to make on older kits at all?
Yeah, so from the perspective of like older kits, that's what we would call like re-releases. And quite often there's sometimes work that we have to do, and there's sometimes work that it's mostly just the art team has to do. So we kind of, it's usually just like instruction changes that usually have to happen there. But sometimes we do have to retest things because some parts might have changed. So yeah,
that's cool.
Do you ever have any like vision for what the rocket would look like, as like on the face card, like the painted and everything, or is that something like the art team does?
Yeah, so that for us as designers, sometimes we do propose like paint schemes. However, also sometimes we just give the general idea of like what we're aiming for, and we let the art team have a fun time at creating the vision based off of our ideas, or like off the name that we've given the rocket, and they just go from there. So it's kind of a mix sometimes.
Makes
It's
sense.
actually interesting to know too, the face card is generated art, because I've always wondered if it's just like crazy photography studio lighting and then photoshopped backgrounds or what.
Back in the day it was. Which I love, by the way.
Yeah. Dude, that would be such a fun job to just like be running a photo studio for model rockets. That's
I loved like the '90s face cards that were like studio shot, or like the liftoff shot, but it was all edited together. It looks so cool.
It's kind of like the old PML stuff where you like clearly set up like a whole little studio with all the crates and everything just to take pictures of these rockets. I was like, dang, that's sick.
How
it
big
made it
is
feel
Estes?
more imaginative somehow. Like looking at when it was the real images in the Estes catalog with the studio setup. I'm not sure.
Boomer.
Yeah, I know.
What were you asking, Matt?
How big is Estes as far as like how many employees are there?
I think right now, I believe it is, we employ somewhere between, I want to say 70 and 90 employees.
Okay.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask something along the similar lines because it seems like with SpaceX and Blue Origin and everything, there's kind of a second resurgence of interest in model rocketry. I'm like starting to see Estes stuff pop up at like Walmart and stuff again because obviously Estes has long been a dominant force in the world of model rocketry. There's probably not one person you could ask about how they got into rocketry right now that wouldn't say it was an Estes kid. Yeah. And it doesn't matter how old they are. So yeah, it's interesting to see like the whole affiliate program that you hooked me up with. And I was like, wow, this is crazy that it just like already exists. Like they're just like working with creators and stuff and trying to really branch out, which is great because we need more people to run launches so that we don't have to, right, Taylor?
That's right.
We need to suck as many people in as possible. Yeah, that's bigger than I would have guessed, honestly, in terms of employees.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I know absolutely. Because is that the company as a whole? Because Estes owns GoX now, right?
That is the 70 to 90 employees. That is just Estes Industries, the model rocket side. And then we have GoX, and then there's also Estes Energetics as well.
That's what I was going to ask about. I was going to ask if that's like a completely separate entity because it seems to be branded as such.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how much you know about that or how much you're allowed to talk about, but it seems like they're sort of targeting like defense contracts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But interesting.
What's like the whole process that a rocket will go through when the design is being thought up? Is it just something like one of the employees, like you laying in bed and you're like, oh, I have an idea. I'm going to see if this works. And like, what's that like?
Yeah. So like, it's kind of a mix of like, sometimes we'll come up with ideas that we just think are exciting. And then sometimes there'll be a like stated need. Like for example, the Athena H rocket that we've announced here recently, you might have seen it in the Sport Rocketry magazine. It is a stated need, so that's where we start from the ground up developing it and making this scale kit. And it was a really fun long process that I got to go through, and that was actually my first project that I started with here at Estes, so it was a fun challenge getting to learn a lot of new things. But then we also do like one of our Estes values is actually that good ideas come from everywhere. So we highly encourage all of our employees to bring any ideas that they have to the table. And, if it's viable, we'll see what we can do with it. So that's kind of the general ideation there of how we come up with kits.
It's interesting. I really want to know who was responsible. What was it called, Taylor? The double D one? You remember that?
36D squared.
Yeah. Unbelievable that ever made it to production. If you don't know what we're talking about, go ahead and Google the Estes 36D squared because that is something.
Also, some people say 36 double D.
Yeah, I have in fact heard of people describing it as such before. But yeah, that's interesting to know though. So you could have a janitor pitch a rocket idea that make it off the ground.
You could.
What is the demographic there and as it's like age wise? are there a lot of older people or?
So yeah, age wise, like we do have, I would say we have a good mix. There's a lot of, we do have some of our, I would say heritage employees. Would you say, you might say, we're like employees who have been here like north of 40 years. So it's like really impressive getting to like talk to them and get to learn the full history from them of what all they've seen and how the company has changed over time. And then there's people like me who have been there for a little over a year and are on the younger side. So it creates a good work environment where we can have a blend of like the minds from the heritage and the new minds, and we can collaborate and figure out how we're going to create new and exciting things that appeases to the mass market.
That's awesome. And sorry, go ahead. Oh, okay. I've got a lot of questions.
No, go.
Getting to talk with another engineer.
People want you to talk more, so this is perfect.
Well, here we are.
Go on.
Let me just go ahead and ramble on here. Out of curiosity, like what kind of like maybe engineering skills that you maybe learned in school or whatever, do you feel like there's a lot that applies to your day-to-day job? Or like, and if so, like what specifically?
I would say engineering skills wise, there's some stuff that I do with engines related stuff where I'm kind of having to work through of like dealing with calculating the stresses and stuff and stresses and strains and hoop stress and all that, and like trying to figure out what I can do, also calculating like burn rates and stuff, what I can do to come up with some new ideas. And then like the biggest skill that I use day to day is CAD. It's absolutely massive. And that makes sense. Even from just starting the job, I've learned so much utilizing SolidWorks and getting to design new and exciting things.
Cool. Okay.
That's actually a good segue into what I was going to ask, because obviously it sounds like the motors or engines, we don't need to have that whole debate, are developed in-house. But are they produced in Colorado, or are they outsourced at this point?
Yeah, we still produce them on site in Penrose, Colorado. Every single black powder motor that we manufacture is made on site, and our cases are made in the US, and it's a fun process, so it's cool seeing it done.
I was gonna say, have you seen motors being built there? Like, is it like a production line kind of thing?
Yeah, so you can actually look into the history of Estes, and Vern Estes was very knowledgeable with rotary tables. So our engine machines actually kind of utilize that concept of having a rotary table that goes station by station to manufacture the motors. So it's really cool to watch.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Is there something called the Mabel?
Yep.
Okay. What is that?
The machine.
Is that the machine?
Yeah, Mabel is the engine manufacturing machine.
Okay.
Interesting.
That term was in my brain, but I couldn't connect really the dots on what that was.
And that's the name of the machine?
Cuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the name of the machine.
The old heads love talking about the Mabel.
Yeah,
that I've talked to.
The first Mabel was actually manufactured in Denver, and Vern built it in his garage.
Whoa.
And then that's whenever, after a not long amount of time, they realized that they needed to move away from Denver and get to somewhere where they could actually expand.
So
that's cool.
Is there any like human interaction with the motors? Engines. I'm going to say engines just because it feels correct with Estes stuff. But is there any human interaction with them being made, or is it all automated at this point?
It depends on the motor that we're making. But for the most part, it is. Oh, even I said motor. It depends on the engine that we're making. But for the most part, it is automated. Pretty much like the operator just flips go, and the machine just starts doing its thing and spits them out, and they inspect them from there, and from there they work their way to being packaged.
What about I believe, well, I don't know if this is what, if we need to get into this discussion, but I believe like motors like the C5 have a partial core. Is that right?
Engines.
Or like a little at the bottom?
So here at Estes, we call that the drift. The drift is what actually forms the nozzle and actually forms the geometry inside the engine. So with what you're going at there, yes, a C5 drift is actually like a little bit deeper than a C6 drift. And that's actually why we call the C5 the Super C, because it has more of a kick.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I love those back in the day, but then I remember they went out of production. There was lots of for a while, and I was excited to see them come back. I haven't had a chance to fly one since they came back, but
yeah,
there was lots of speculation when they first went out of production, like, oh, well, they didn't want to make it because it had the drift or whatever. So that I don't know that there's any merit to that, but
that's how
I thought it was
felt
interesting.
When the 29 millimeter motors came out. I was like, dude, yes, big giant black powder motors again. Because I always I flew some 24 millimeter stuff, like very limited amount. That kind of just went straight to composites from there. So I was like, this is so sick. I want a black powder F motor.
Yeah, getting to play with the 29 millimeter motors is like one of my favorite day-to-day things. It's fun.
Now, what's the difference between an E12 and an E9? Is it the same type of thing? Is there?
It's just so the difference between an E12 and the old E9 was, it was just like the drift geometry got slightly changed.
Yeah.
So that way we would end up with like a little more oomph out of the
something
engine.
A little more usable.
Yeah,
Dude.
that's the main thing. Is like a lot of times our engines are made out of need, so that way, like the E12, so that way we could actually lift some heavier rockets with it. So
yeah,
that's the kind of mindset that we put into engine design and stuff.
There's definitely a
loved
need
the
for a motor
E9s.
like that.
I built what was probably basically just a broadsword, but my dad and I built it just to like demo rockets when I was in 6th grade, and I loved flying it on E9s because it was like, in a rocket that big, they just seemed like they burn forever. It was a good time.
They did have a good burn time.
Yep.
What is your favorite Estes rocket?
My oh gosh,
Yeah,
you just put me on the spot there.
Yeah, come on.
You know, I would have to say my favorite Estes rocket, aside from the ones that have been announced and will be announced that I've designed, my favorite Estes rocket probably has to be the Pro Series 2 Nike Smoke.
Nice. Yeah, I think we're pretty much all
Let's
on
go.
board with that. I asked for one in my second round of affiliate packages that I'll be getting. So I was like, yeah, I definitely need it because Shane has one. My dad has one. Taylor, you have the Mad Cow one.
Yeah.
But if you go to estesrockets.com and use the discount code ZWW10, you can get 10% off of one right now.
Wow.
Or you can click the link in the description. And wow, actually, now that I think about it, that's not just you, Taylor. That's everybody.
Whoa.
That is convenient. All right. Well, I think unless anybody has anything else that they want to ask immediately, we can maybe kick it to Patreon because Matt is kind of crossing into the territory of questions that people asked over there.
Okay.
So
All right.
Yeah.
we can
yield.
come back around, but I would be remiss without asking real quick. What do you know and can you tell us about the Estes Energetics L motor that is for some reason certified?
So that was actually kind of like a part of the Estes Energetics past. That's whenever like we're on like the second generation of Estes Energetics, I would say that. So that's kind of from a previous generation, and I personally don't know what exactly it was developed for, but it's an interesting motor, like very large but also stubby, and
It's a 6-inch diameter motor. For those who don't know, that's like, I mean, probably 4 inches tall in the propellant. So I think the whole motor assembly is like 6 inches tall. I think at one point Taylor and I theorized it was just developed for, I think SLI has an L motor limit, right? One of the college competitions.
They did at one time. I don't know. I'm not up to date on what all that is, but
yeah, I think SLI does have an L motor limit.
I can't remember the designation of that motor real quick, but I want to look it up because it is crazy. But yeah, it's let's see if it just pops up if I do Estes. There's a thing is I have it listed as Estes Industries on thrustcurve.org, which is incorrect, we've learned. L2350, the 6-inch L. Insane. Barely an L too. 2,585. Oh no, that's total impulse 3886. Actually not bad. I guess it'd be hard to make a small L with you guys 6 inches in propellant diameter. But and then one last thing I want to touch on, if we haven't said it enough, Taylor did actually convert me. I used to say it wrong, but it is pronounced Estes, correct?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Yeah, I know people from Colorado natively say it correct because that's the name of the place in Colorado as well. Yep. But I always wondered if there was any correlation with that, or that's just a coincidence with Vern.
You know, as far as I'm concerned, Estes Park and Estes, to my knowledge, I don't think they have any correlation. But you never know. Maybe do a deep dive into history and maybe you'll find some sort of a tie.
Yeah, some way back family stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
all right.
Fun fact for Matt and anyone else from Kansas City, Vern Estes is from St. Joe.
Oh, cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Fireworks town. It's the only thing I know about St. Joe. Is that
I think he did stuff with fireworks. Coincidentally.
Yeah. That's what his family did. Sense. Yep.
Okay. So I wonder if there's a tie to one of those fireworks places that's up there.
Yeah, dude, that's really old. Yeah, my great uncle Vern. I know that
guy. I should try to look into that to see if there's any ties left. Anyway,
that would be so crazy. St. Joe is quite the place.
It is quite the place.
All right. Well, let's dive into the Patreon questions. We actually put out a call to the Estes Model Rockets Facebook group and saw 0 input, which was crazy because there's 36,000 people in that Facebook group. I think the way I worded it made people think, hey, maybe like they're going to set us up to ask questions during the podcast. Like I was advertising the podcast. So I guess if you have questions for Adam, you can drop them in the comments if you're watching this on YouTube, or you can send an email to contact@aggpodcast.com. And we can collect another bank if we get enough, and we can have Adam back on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Guys, what is your least favorite part about a super long drive? 25 hours to Taylor's house for me in Postart.
Probably not having my home bathroom or my bed.
I think getting kind of fatigued with all the like gas station stops with, eating a bunch of not good food for you.
Dropping your phone into the crevice to the end of the world.
The Narnia hole. Yeah. Well, for me, it is undoubtedly sitting on this big, giant, bulky wallet. Would you look at this? But now it's a non-issue. Thanks to our friends at Ridge. I'm now fully dedicated to being a front pocket wallet guy. I got the carbon fiber one because obviously I have to. It's very small. You fit up to 12 cards in here, and it's so small that I've been freaking out for like the past week that I've been using it that I forgot my wallet when I'm not at home. There's a bunch of cool optional additions you can have, like an air tag so you can track it, money clip, the cash strap, which you can see is one I've got right here. And if carbon fiber is not your thing, it's available in 50 plus colors. Did anybody else get a cool color? I think it's just Postar. What do you got?
I got blue.
I got carbon fiber.
And the money clip.
Oh, you have the money clip. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, there's actually an interesting standout here, too. Well, what'd you get, Taylor? You got carbon fiber?
I got carbon fiber. I also have used a Ridge carbon fiber wallet for the past 7 years. And I've been a front pocket wallet guy for probably twice that. But I had this problem where I would blow out a wallet every year working construction. And since I switched to the Ridge wallet, I have had 0 issues, and it still looks brand new. It comes with all those screws and a screwdriver, and it's fully rebuildable. You can replace the elastic strap if need be, but like I said, I've been using a Ridge wallet for 7 years, I believe, and it's still just as stretchy as the day I got it.
Even if it wasn't, that wouldn't be a problem because they come with a lifetime warranty. And if you're skeptical, there's a 99-day risk-free trial. Within 99 days, you just send it back, you get your money back. But I have a feeling you're not going to want to do that. With over 100,000 5-star reviews and a glowing endorsement from everybody at the Anti-Gravity Group podcast, we think you should join the gang. Throw that bulky wallet away and join the front wallet pocket revolution with Ridge. Click on any of the pinned products in the description of this video, and then use the discount code YouTube10 for 10% off whatever you order. Thank you to our friends at Ridge. So first question is from David Bilia, and he says, will Estes ever consider getting into high-powered versions of their kits? And I feel like the Pro Series 2 stuff is, if you want it to be high power, it can be in a lot of cases. And I mean, the not currently available, but the Megateer Red Max is a 4-inch rocket from Estes.
Oh yeah,
they did all but tell you could just fly it on high power motors too if you wanted.
Yeah, so I guess getting into that question, you know, I think at the current moment, I would say I wouldn't expect it here like within the next year or two, but you never know what might be in store. It's at the end of the day, it's all just exciting to see what we can develop, and if the market shows that there's need for it and we can develop it, then you never know. It might happen, it may not. And I think that's where I'll have to leave it there.
I was going to say too, like I said, the Pro Series stuff is right on the cusp of high power. So I feel like if there was a ton of sales of Pro Series stuff indicating that, especially like the 3-inch stuff.
Yeah. I mean, like my brother, I bought him a Pro Series 2 Nike Smoke, and that's what he got his L1 off of. So if you build the rocket right, it can do it.
Yeah, I'm actually planning on, because I think I have 3 star orbiters now. So I think we're going to I'm going to do one stock, and then we're going to have Poshtart design me just a 3D printed coupler insert, and then I'm going to do plywood fins, and we're just going to see how much that can handle. And then I'll do a third one with fiberglass and just go all out. And I'm kind of considering making it basically minimum diameter and putting an iMotor in it. So we'll see how far we can take it. But they are, if you want to get into high power cheap, or you're like transitioning from low power to mid power, they are just like really, really great for that exact little window. So yeah, I mean, it's not as easy as buying a fiberglass kit and just slapping it together and putting an eye in it. It's not going to survive like that. But if you want to get creative, they are very feasible for high power.
Yeah, I mean, like, I can neither confirm nor deny that I took an Estes Vapor and shoved a J270 in it, and that rocket was gone for forever.
Somebody actually in one of our live streams recently, I was talking about the Star Orbiter specifically, and they said they got their level 1 with one. I was like, that's really hardcore, cool. Actually.
Yeah, that's really cool.
I mean, a real small H in that thing, you'd probably push in like 5,000 feet. So that's a pretty brave level 1 flight. But there you go. Noah Lenahan says, has Estes ever considered doing high power kits or motors? I should have probably pre-read that question before I read it out loud. But I guess we could touch on motors if you have any insight on that.
From the high power motor standpoint, there's a lot that goes into bringing new motors to the market. So I would say, if the market shows that it wants it and it needs it, let's see what we can do to get the voices and opinions out there, and you never know, maybe we'll bring it around.
All right, so we're announcing a new contest right now on the Anti-Gravity Group podcast. Whoever can go to the EstesRockets.com, spend the most money with that discount code ZWW10. Just buy every big Pro Series rocket, buy all the 29mm black powder stuff. Really show them what we want, people. And, you know, that's just me out of the kindness of my heart trying to bring what the people want to the people. There's no upside for me on that. Remcha says, I think it'd be great for Estes to put out more cluster kits. Are there any plans for them in the future?
You know, I will say that we have the really awesome Pro Series 2 launch controller. And if you go get a 3S 800 milliamp LiPo battery that has a JST connector, the red one, you can actually plug that into the launch controller and it can do clusters all day long.
Wait, really?
Oh, yeah.
It comes with a JST pigtail in it?
Yep.
Dang,
yeah,
I have one. I've never even noticed.
Yeah. If you look in that battery bay, if you look up top, there's a little plug for a JST. So with that in mind, you know, just keep your eyes out.
Interesting. That's crazy. That's cool, though. Just have a recharged battery always locked and loaded. Huh. We might have to play with that a little bit, Shane. I want to see how many E-matches it can fire.
What do they normally have for battery?
I believe, if I recall correctly, it's like the little C cell batteries.
Yeah, I think it's 4 C batteries.
Okay. Yeah. Because I believe those are, is it the one where with the 2 buttons like that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Because I had the, you know, basically the same version of that, but 20 years ago. But they had the giant NiCad battery packs. They look just like C cells stacked up in there. I don't know what type of batteries those were.
We'll have to check ours, Shane, because it was given to us. I don't know how old it is, but somebody has actually already, they split it and added a second set of alligator clips for clustering on the one that we have. So we'll have to see what we can do with that.
Yeah,
it'd be kind of a fun video.
Yeah, if you get the LiPo battery and twist your wires together, get them all in parallel. Yeah, it rips.
Awesome.
That's sick.
All right. Zero G Princey. Actually, both of these comments I replied to one, but I thought so. He took the concept of questions and sort of made them demands, but he says, in parentheses, can you please provide simulation files, especially for the Pro Series 2 kits if possible? And that's actually interesting because earlier you said that you guys are designing them in just like off-the-shelf design programs. So is there any possibility there?
You know, I'm not 100% sure if that's something that we would end up doing, but that's definitely something that I'd be willing to go voice what the community's been talking about, and we'll go see if we can eventually make that a reality potentially.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I did a video kind of explaining how to make a pretty accurate and in-depth sim file. Yeah. But it is always nice when there's a manufacturer provided one, especially I imagine if you guys are using them for develop, they're probably pretty in-depth. So it'd be nice to have the real engineer's take on it. And then he says, in parentheses again, can you please make more parts of kits available so we can repair and replicate rockets?
Yeah, so I can say for a fact that that's something that we are actively making efforts to do, is to provide replacement parts to our consumers. So, because we know that that's a need. So, like, we've already done that with, like, the Saturn V and certain aspects of that rocket. We're talking the big one. But, yeah, we are working on getting to do that with many of our other kits as well to help the consumer be able to repair their rockets or, you know, play as they please to make rockets.
Yeah, and actually it was pointed out to me, I brought it up on I think the last episode, but a lot of people freaked out because fairly recently the 4-inch Red Max nose cone and airframe tube made a reappearance as available on the Estes website. So I said in the video, I was like, I don't have any insight on that because I knew I was setting myself up for emails by pointing that out as I was announcing that I was now an affiliate partner with Estes. So I have to reiterate, I don't know anything about that. But maybe if a bunch of people went and bought the nose cone and the tube and started building clones, there might be a good reason to bring it back.
Absolutely. I agree with that.
It is. I'm curious about the sizing, like the nose cone versus, say, a different manufacturer's tube, because people building upscales with the wrong shaped nose cone is one of the most devastating things that me and pretty much everybody else here can see happen.
Yep. The body tube sizing is a interesting question, because everybody designs things a little bit differently. So we all have our own like wall thicknesses that we give to things and such. So it creates an interesting challenge, as y'all know, like with many rocket kits, there's not a set standard for everything.
Right. Well, and that's not really an issue, right? Because they can also just get the body tube. So if you really want to build one right now, grab yourself a Roxen file, make yourself some fins, and order the tube and nose cone. Brian Kelsey says, there's generally a good mix of sizes of rockets and kits in each skill level. Do you aim to have at least so many with payloads, so many based on real NASA and sounding rockets, so many that are quick build with preformed fins for new builders, etc.? Thanks for the new Pro Series and availability of bigger tubes and parts for scratch building. I built my own super big Bertha from parts and pieces that were left from my original. I upgraded to plywood, fin cores, and rings.
Yeah, I'd say you pretty well hit it on the nose there. Whenever we plan out the year of what we're gonna design and release, we do our best to meet everybody's needs and desires. So, like, whenever you see a rocket kit release, if it's not meeting your needs or not like getting you quite excited, maybe just wait a little bit. You never know what'll show up that might meet that might excite you.
All right. Bryson Nicole asks, this is where Matt's crossover was, ask favorite Estes kit, but added current and past.
Ooh, okay. So, well, I guess it was past, but now it's current. Favorite Estes kit, Pro Series Nike Smoke. Favorite Estes kit, like, for sure from the past. That's a really tough one. I'd have to say one of the ones that's most nostalgic for me was the EPM 010. I don't know if y'all remember that one. It was a long, slender red rocket, kind of forward swept wings, had some pods on the ends. It was a really cool sport rocket.
I do remember that.
That one's a favorite blast from the past for me. I know it might not be super old for some people, but I am unfortunately on the younger side for that side of things. But
yeah, I wouldn't say that it's unfortunate, but actually, while we're here, not to hijack the Q&A here, but I think we should all throw out our favorite current and past Estes kits, because I actually don't think we've ever said that. And I have a list I have to try and pick from, so I'm going to send it to anybody else who wants to do it.
All-time past kit would be Corkscrew.
True.
And current, I got to be honest, I'm not totally up to speed on everything that's in the catalog at the moment, but
I don't know how you could say anything but the Pro Series 2 Nike Smoke.
Oh, yeah. I guess I would have to choose that because it exists. Yeah, I'm a big Nike Smoke guy.
I was shocked that you were thinking about it. I was like, wait,
I was trying to think of something more in the A through C range for whatever reason.
Fair. Paused Heart?
The corkscrew was also the first thing that popped into my head for past rockets, and then Pro Series 2 Nike Smoke. It's the best there is.
Matt, what do you got for us?
I've been thinking about it. I remember having that brochure back in the late 90s or whatever that had all of the different rockets, and every time I look at that I would get super excited, like seeing the Comanche 3. And what else, the Flash, I think, and the Astrocam. I always thought the Astrocam was super cool. But
Banshee, you're a Banshee guy.
Okay, well, I have a Banshee still in the cellophane wrapping or whatever.
I'm still
collecting.
Like, can't wrap my head around why you bought it. There's a reason.
I
don't know.
Too.
I think it looks awesome.
It does. It's fun. I don't know why I have one, but I had
one
too.
back in the day and I loved it. But I'm just like, that was the only Estes rocket I've seen you buy since you've been into rockets.
Something about it was just like, I liked the design and the look of it. But I think for my own favorite rocket, honestly, I feel like I really loved the Twister, either that or the Alpha. Like something about the balsa wood, like having to actually build it and paint it and do all that. And the weird thing about is it Twister or Tornado? The black one? I think
it's the same.
Right.
So it was originally a Tornado, and then it became the Twister in the Super Shot starter set. I think it was only offered in that configuration.
Yeah.
But
that like, I don't know how to describe that. Maybe they're not canards, but
I think they called it a maple leaf recovery. Or maple pop
featherweight.
It was tumble recovery.
But specifically, it in the instructions it said like maple seed pod or something, because one of the fins and part of the body tube would separate from the rest of it, making the main part of the rocket unstable to tumble in, and then that fin piece would do like a seed pod from a maple tree.
Oh, okay.
Or the whirly. What do you call those?
Honestly, I've never had a name for them really. Just like
twirly bird
things that spin.
Yeah, the things that spin that come off the trees.
I miss when Estes was doing crazy like that in the Kato, the rocket that just turns into 19 pieces at the top or whatever.
Well, it's so original. Like I would never think of.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I could think of the Kato, but just stuff like the Tornado with the maple seed recovery or whatever. Like I just wouldn't think of
classic.
that.
Yeah, but to me, the look of those rockets too is very classic. Like when I see a Twister and I see the logo and whatnot, I'm like, I get excited thinking about that. So yeah, I think Twister, and I think for the modern rockets, honestly, that Vapor looks really cool. It looks cool.
The Comanche 3 does also count because it is in production.
Okay.
So
okay. It looked cool. Never flown one, but yeah.
Most people that don't see the Sustainer ever again. So, mine. I think my favorite right now has to be the Dare Big Red Max, just because big Red Max fan, and a natively made upscale is sweet. And then for past stuff, I'm just gonna say a couple because I can't decide which one. The ARV Condor is a favorite.
Ooh,
Taylor and I both have stories of losing the gliders
the same way.
Gemini DC, obviously.
Oh yeah.
Oh right.
And then weirdly enough, up at the top, the Alpha 4, the 40th anniversary one that had the metallic red finish. It was different, and all the gold Estes logos. And I will say I've wanted a really big one that with like the proper finish for a long, long time. And I probably am not going to have to wait that much longer. So that will be pretty cool. I've actually had the decals for one for about 15 years, which is really stupid. But all right, Bryce and Nicole, one more question from Bryce Nicole, I should add. There's a couple more. Estes has such a long history of manufacturing thousands of rocket designs. It feels like everything must have already been done before, no? How do you approach designing a new kit that doesn't feel like a rehash of an old concept or otherwise can stand on its own using either modern materials or innovative designs? I imagine that to be so difficult.
So it really just kind of like it comes down to when we're designing a rocket, we kind of like look at what we've done in the past and then think about like what new technologies we might have nowadays, or like what has like this generation of Rocketeers brought to the table to help like keep new ideas going. So with that, like I will say there's a really cool 2-stage kit coming here in the next year. So look forward to that. It's kind of cool and innovative, and keep your eyes out. It's one of my favorites.
Awesome. And we like having exclusive hints here on the Anti-Gravity Group podcast. All right. And our final question, it looks like Phil Sturka says, Estes is doing a great job with the Pro Series rockets as well as other larger ones. But my question is, why on the instructions can't you give newer Rocketeers, as well as some of us seasoned ones, a center of gravity and center of pressure so we can fine-tune our rockets? Or the others that want to soup their kit with a little larger motor. For example, Nike Smoke with an Aerotech motor. Yeah, I think we get the idea. But there's a reason Estes gives the builder clay to add to make the rocket stable.
Yeah, so that's actually like a really good observation there. And that's something that we're working on kind of changing here going forward. Is like the Athena H here behind me and like all of our scale ones, we're working on giving you that center of gravity and like those specific measurements, so that way you can understand like making your rocket stable. So that's something that definitely appreciate the feedback on that, because I think that is some valuable information to try to start putting on more kits moving forward.
Awesome. Yeah, I've always been curious about that, actually, because you don't see them marked. And the nice thing about Estes stuff is that Apogee is pretty good about making really accurate sim files for RockSim for Estes stuff. So if it's something that's been in production for a minute, you typically can find a pretty good sim file of it. But it's nice to know that that's been considered for just, I assume, on the instructions, but where we would find it. Awesome. Well, that runs the well dry on Patreon questions, and I think that pretty much, Matt, have you come up with anything else?
Yeah, I've got a couple, just a couple other questions.
Go for it, dude.
Cool. I mean, out of curiosity, do you know what maybe is the best-selling Estes rocket, or maybe most popular?
Oh, that's a difficult one.
Yeah.
Like we have all our long-standing kits, like the Big Bertha and Baby Bertha, and like that whole line. There's a couple kits that I know have been around like north of 10 years. Mm-hmm. But I don't recall exactly off the top of my head like which one's like the best seller.
Yeah. That's
Baby Bertha was my first rocket. I love those things.
Baby Bertha.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty awesome seeing a lot of the kits where they have, there's a starter pack or whatever that's really kind of getting exposure. I remember in Scouts we used the Gnome at one point, and I had already done rockets up to that point, so I was like, oh, this is just a walk in the park. But it's just cool getting to see something that approachable, I guess, or easy to do. Let's see. Out of curiosity, is there any like archive of rockets at Estes, like of past rockets that have been done? Or
absolutely, we have a extensive archive of like every single rocket that we've produced. Cool. And every new rocket that we produced, one of those rockets goes into the archive. Cool. So eventually,
the actual models.
Yeah, like the actual kits.
That is cool.
Yeah, we have
awesome.
Yeah, we have a full archive of all that. So, I will say the long-term project is eventually to develop a museum that people can come and see all this stuff.
Yeah,
so
that would be sick.
It's in the works. We'll see whenever it actually happens. So.
Yeah, I think that would be a big hit because
I would love to see that.
I feel like a lot of us, that got into high power rocket, a lot of times started off with Estes stuff, And like I was saying about, flipping through the brochure and seeing those rockets, I was like, these are awesome, So getting to see all of them all at once would be a spectacle, I think.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
Dude, I haven't even lost that allure because they sent me with that first package. They sent me a catalog, and Shane was like, "Do you want to keep this?" And I was like, "Kinda, yeah. I just want to look through it."
Yeah, I still love looking through the catalog.
Absolutely. If anything, that's a good bathroom reader.
But it would be cool seeing all of them next to each other because you could see the different eras.
Oh yeah,
distinctly.
Yeah, that would be sweet.
Yeah, you can kind of. I mean, there's points in time where it's like very distinct of the rocket design and different things.
Yep.
Yeah, the direction. Okay, I think my last question I have here: what is maybe your favorite aspect of your job? I think you mentioned something at one point, but I'll just ask you again and see.
So I feel like my favorite aspect of my job is being able to experiment. There's many things that I get to do where I get to go just make something that I have as an idea, and I get to just go see if it works. So that's
cool.
like easily one of my favorite things.
Yeah, I can see that. That makes a lot of sense. Cool.
All right, Paw Starter Taylor, you have anything else?
I'm all out.
All right, I have one last one. Oh, go ahead, Taylor.
Not really a question, but just that, it would be nice to see the Big Daddy with the old school graphics.
Here he goes.
So request. All right.
Taylor had to get his request in.
I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
And call it the Jesse Taylor.
Message could be relayed to somebody.
If messages are getting relayed, also like there's BT80 and BT60 motor mounts for 29mm tubes, but a 3-inch one for the Big Daddy would be cool too. There used to be one because of the Leviathan, but
that's a good point there. That's a cool one.
All right. One last question for the fans. You've sort of hinted about the LiPo battery in the Pro Series 2 controller and a 2-stage on the horizon. Is there anything else you can share with us that may be breaking news to Estes fans?
Biggest thing is keep voicing your opinion out there, whether it's on Facebook, Instagram, whatever social media it may be. We are listening. Whether it's a bring back or a new kit idea, we are listening. So be excited for Christmas. We have a lot of really cool, exciting kits to come, and be excited for upcoming 2025. You never know. We might even hit some blasts from the past of some stuff that we might have dipped our toes in the past that we're coming back at again whenever it comes to engines. So keep in mind.
Wow. All right. Well, if you guys want to voice your opinions, make sure you do so. I'm sure there's a contact form at estesrockets.com. And while you're there, again, you can use my discount code ZWW10 for 10% off anything you order from the Estes website. Awesome. Yeah, I'm super excited about this partnership because you can ask Shane. I mean, I'll go fly. Let's see, what's probably the most ridiculous example of this? Because I've flown a giant high power motor and then immediately proceeded to buy an Estes rocket just because I like it. I think a really good one, Shane, probably is when we went to NXRS in Oregon, which is kind of like a hardcore experimental rocketry launch. And the first thing I did was walk up to Mike from Bay Area Rocketry because he had an Apollo 11 Saturn V still sitting in his inventory. He was putting on sunscreen. I walked away and came back with it. And he's like, how could you already have done that? This is insane. So, it's super fun to get to just play with some smaller stuff that's not quite so in-depth and super fun and easy to build. Takes us back. Shane and I bought a huge lot of high-powered stuff from a dude in Idaho, and there was just a fleet of motors in there, of Estes engines, and a couple rockets. So we were like, what are we going to do with these? And on the way back to our houses, we just stopped at a park and flew them all. And we were like, wow, we kind of forgot how fun it is to just fly some Estes rockets.
It was a great time.
Yeah. And we're going to have a great time with the Estes stuff that we have. And there's going to be some videos and stuff coming up. But I think that is pretty much going to do it for this episode of the Anti-Gravity Group, unless anybody else has anything to throw out. All right. Looks like we're good. My name is Braden Carlson. You can find me right here on YouTube at Rocket Vlogs. You can find me on Instagram and Snapchat at BigB1011 and Braden Carlson 6 for TikTok. We're getting close to 10,000 followers on TikTok. We need to surpass that to release the endorphins. Give me the happy feeling. Shane's getting a lot of that right now. His YouTube videos at 11,000 views now?
It's almost to 12.
Whoa.
Step aside, Taylor. Step aside.
Yeah, let's have a race to 1,000 subscribers, Taylor.
No, it's okay. My name's Taylor. You can find me on YouTube at The Rocket Channel. And, yep.
But don't subscribe, apparently.
No, please subscribe.
My name is Shane or Postart. You can find me on YouTube at Postart Propulsions. You can find me online for 3D printed things at hprtools.com and on Instagram at Shane Harris Photo.
My name is Macho Matt. You can follow me right here, basically, and on Facebook and in Kansas.
He's branching out.
Whoa.
Go ahead, Adam. Fire it off.
And my name is Adam Knippa. Feel free to find me on Instagram, Facebook, and go check us out on Estes Rockets on all of our social medias there. Feel free to shoot us a comment and, let us know what you thought, and feel free to voice your opinion. Maybe even comment my name there and, have them reach out to me, and I'd love to talk.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. It's been super fun. We are the Anti-Gravity Group, plus Adam Knippa of Estes Industries. And this is the Anti-Gravity Group podcast. We will see you guys next time.
We might just hear from Nigel the Rocket Cat. Load up the professional masterpiece, you can bet on that. A launch and a chat with them is guaranteed to be a blast. It's the Anti-Gravity Group podcast.